The mysterious disappearances of Vatican City. Mysterious disappearances happen all the time. For whatever reasons, some people just suddenly go missing without a trace, leaving behind a wake of confusion as authorities and loved ones try to piece together what has happened. Perhaps one may be inclined to think that these vanishings are purely the realm of dangerous places or remote wildernesses, but on occasion, we come across one that happens in the last place that one would ever expect. Such is the case of a series of unexplained disappearances that occurred in one of the world's most holiest of cities, Vatican City, the seat of the Roman Catholic Church and a place of soaring, ornate cathedrals, chapels, museums, and basilicas. A place that seems to be as far from evil as can be possible. And yet these disappearances would go on to become a baffling unsolved crime that would eventually hint at a dark underbelly lurking beneath the sacred and holy veneer of this seat of one of the world's most powerful religions. Officially called Vatican City State, Vatican City is a walled-off enclave within the city of Rome, Italy, which is recognized as the world's smallest independent state in terms of both area and population. An ecclesiastical or sacerdotal monarchical state, it is the seat of the Pope, and along with the Holy See, is one of the most important places of the Roman Catholic religion, and its over 1.2 adherents around the world. It is also a world-renowned tourist attraction, harboring some of the world's most famous sculptures and paintings within its museums, as well as various world-famous cultural sites, such as St. Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel. The most well-known of the Vatican City disappearances occurred in 1983, when a 15-year-old second student of a high school in Rome by the name of Emanuela Orlandi went missing without a trace. Orlandi was a citizen of Vatican City and the daughter of a lay official in the Vatican, whose job was organizing papal functions. On June 22, 1983, Emanuela was late for a music class at a music school that she attended 3 times a week in Rome. Emanuela's worried sister reported that she had received a call from the girl explaining that she was late because she had made an appointment to meet with a representative of Avon Cosmetics to talk about a job offer to sell said cosmetics. Emanuela then allegedly met with the Avon representative before a music lesson and afterwards told her friend all about it, after which she said farewell to the friend and allegedly climbed into a dark green colored BMW at a bus stop. She was never seen again. When she did not return home from school as expected, Emanuela's concerned parents contacted authorities but were told that the girl had probably just gone off with friends, as teenagers are wont to do. When the girl had still not come home the following day, her parents called the director of the music school, who informed them that the girl had never shown up for her class and was unable to provide any information on where she might be. Over the following 2 days, ads were placed in several newspapers begging for any information anyone might have on the girl's whereabouts, and the family home phone number was listed there too. This would be where things got a fair bit more bizarre. The Orlandi family began to receive several strange phone calls from various people with wildly varying accents. The first such call was on June 25th from a male who identified himself as a 16-year-old boy named Pierluigi. The young man told them that he had been with his fiancée at the Piazza Navona when they had met the missing girl. The man claimed that Emanuela had introduced herself as Barbarella and had said that she had run away from home after selling Avon Cosmetics. The call at first sounded a little too bizarre to be true, but Pierluigi knew a lot of details about the girl, stating that she had been carrying her flute and was wearing glasses that she claimed she did not like, which was actually true. The young man also stated that Emanuela had her hair cut. Another odd call came on June 28th, when a man calling himself Mario called the home. He claimed to be the owner of a bar near the music school that Emanuela had attended, and said that a new customer resembling the missing girl had been to his establishment, introducing herself as Barbara. Mario claimed that Barbara had told him that she had run away from home, but planned to return for her sister's wedding. By this time, the search for the girl had become desperate. Thousands of posters with Emanuela's face on them had been put up all over the city, and the Pope himself even came forward on many occasions, pleading to those responsible to please let her go. It was around this time that the anonymous phone calls started to become at once more frequent and also much more menacing. A series of calls to the family said that the girl had been captured by terrorists who intended to exchange her for the release of a man by the name of Mehmet Ali, a Turkish man who had been detained after attempting to assassinate Pope John Paul II at St. Peter's Square on May 13, 1981. One of the more persistent of these callers was a man with an American accent who came to be known as l'Americano, or the American. The American was an eloquent-sounding man who suggested that an exchange could be made for Mehmet Ali and demanded that the negotiation be approved by the Pope and carried out within 20 days. The American was extremely persuasive, as in one call, he produced a recording of a voice that highly resembled Emanuela's, and he would offer more evidence of having the girl as well, such as photocopies of her music school ID, sheets of music that she had been studying at the time, and even a handwritten note from the girl herself, which seemed to check out. The man also claimed that the previous callers, including Pierluigi and Mario, were all part of the same terrorist organization and that they were in on the kidnapping. In total, the American would make around 16 phone calls, all traced to public telephone booths. As promising a lead as these sounded, things all fell through when the authorities in charge of handling the kidnapping case denied that there was any evidence to link the abduction and the attempted assassination of the Pope. On July the 8th, yet another strange call came, this time from a man with a Middle Eastern accent. In this case, the call was much more ominous than the others, with the man claiming that he had the girl and planned to kill her if demands were not met. The unidentified man demanded the release within 20 days or that the girl would be killed. The demand was refused, and after this, the case went cold and has gone unsolved to this day, remaining one of history's most inexplicable, mysterious disappearances. For years, authorities have followed numerous tips, leads, and alleged sightings of the missing girl, all of which have invariably led to nowhere. Various theories have been put forth over the years as to what happened to Emanuela Orlandi, ranging from the somewhat plausible to the truly bizarre, all with varying degrees of evidence to back them up. One is that the girl actually had in fact been kidnapped by a terrorist organization in a bid to free Mehmet Ali, just as had been claimed by the various mysterious phone calls. The main suspect in the scenario is a Turkish ultranationalist, neo-fascist youth organization called the Grey Wolves, to whom Mehmet Ali belonged. Mehmet Ali himself would go on record as saying as much in a prison interview with an Italian news program. In the interview, he claimed that Emanuela Orlandi had been captured by the group and that she had eventually been moved to a cloister convent where she remained alive and well, although there was no credible evidence to back up these claims. Up until recent years, he would go on to continue to make such statements. In 2006, he published a letter in which he claimed that both Orlandi and yet another young woman who had also vanished in 1983 by the name of Mirella Grigori had both been abducted by the Grey Wolves to exchange for his release and had subsequently been brought to an unspecified royal palace in Liechtenstein. He was eventually released from prison in 2010, after which he gave a televised interview in which he made even more bizarre, paranoid claims. In addition to stating that the Vatican itself had hired him to assassinate the Pope, he also said that in fact, Orlandi had been kept prisoner by the Vatican and was currently alive and well, living in a Catholic monastery as a nun in a Central European country. None of his increasingly bold claims have ever been supported by any strong evidence, and seem perhaps more like the ravings of a madman. A common sentiment that underlies many of the theories is that the Vatican itself had a hand in the disappearances, or that it at least made efforts to stall the investigation at every single turn. One theory is that Orlandi was kidnapped under the orders of Paul Marcinkus, who was an archbishop at the time and ran the Vatican's bank, after evidence of criminal activities was uncovered by the girl's father, Ercole Orlandi. Marcinkus consistently used his standings and connections to avoid answering any questions at all on the matter, and perhaps took the truth with him to his grave when he died in 2006. The bank connection would get even deeper and more bizarre in 2011, when Antonio Mancini, a member of the Italian organized crime syndicate Banda della Maliana, claimed the kidnapping of Orlandi had been an attempt by the mafia to get the Vatican to repay large amounts of money that had been borrowed from them. The claims show links to the death of the banker Roberto Calvi, also known as God's banker, due to his Vatican connections. Calvi was found hanging under Blackfriars Bridge in London in June 1982, his corpse's pockets stuffed with cash and precious stones, after what is believed to have been a falling out with the mafia after a botched money laundering operation. The mafia connection is perhaps most noticeable in one of the weirdest yet intriguing leads that has come in the case over the years. In 2005, an anonymous caller to the Italian crime show, Who Has Seen, suggested that the secret to solving the case lay in opening the tomb of the infamous gangster Enrico De Pitis, who allegedly had killed a girl as a favor to the Vicar General of Rome at the time, Cardinal Ugo Poletti. The mysterious claim was imbued with a bit of renewed credibility when the mobster's former girlfriend admitted that he had told her he had killed Orlandi. Various anonymous callers would go on to bolster the claims that there was some clue to found within De Pitis' tomb. Enrico De Pitis, also known as Renatino, was known as a rather charismatic gangster who was the leader of a gang called Banda della Maliana, a vicious group known to have had a hand in lucrative drug trade in Rome. The very same gang that had been plying the Vatican for money had been linked to the death of the banker Roberto Calvi, who had reportedly had the police in their pocket. The gangster De Pitis was brutally gunned down in an ambush by rival gang members in 1990 in the picturesque cobbled streets of an area known as Campo de Fiore. After the anonymous calls, it was believed that the mobster's tomb might actually hold the body of Orlandi, which had never been found. The tomb of the gangster De Pitis is in itself a bit of an anomaly. Despite his checkered criminal past, the burial was made at the Opus Dei Basilica of Santa Apollinare, close to Piazza Navona in the center of Rome, a sacred burial site mostly reserved for only the most senior and prestigious of church officials. The burial of such a notorious and ruthless criminal here was unheard of and a clear violation of cardinal law, and oddly, it was sanctioned by Poletti himself, reportedly because the criminal had repented for his crimes in prison and had made large donations to the church, as well as actively participated in charity work helping the poor. Oddly, the Vatican resisted any attempts to open up the tomb for several years, during which time, in 2008, the former girlfriend of De Pitis came forth with information that the late Archbishop Paul Marcinkus had had a hand in hiring the gangster, which, along with the lack of cooperation in opening the tomb, bolstered rumors of a church cover-up. Since Poletti had died in 1997, and so was unable to give any say in the matter, no one knew what they would find in the mysterious tomb. Finally, after much pressure from the public and Orlandi's family, the Vatican finally agreed to open up the tomb to see what clues may lie within. Many expected that Orlandi's body would be found right there, next to that of the gangster De Pitis, or that De Pitis' body would be absent altogether. De Pitis was apparently not a subtle or a humble man, as his name was emblazoned upon the tomb, with an estimated 12,000 pounds worth of diamonds. When the tomb was finally opened to a breathless public, De Pitis' corpse was found to indeed be in the tomb, dressed in a dark suit and tie, and in rather remarkably good condition. No other bodies were found to be in the tomb, at least, not intact ones. Scattered around the crypt, investigators made the macabre discovery of over 200 boxes of assorted, unidentified human bones. The find was so shocking that authorities went about checking for more hidden vaults before getting down to analyzing the remains. It was found that they all seemed to date back to pre-Napoleonic times, but an in-depth DNA analysis was planned. So far, the results are inconclusive, the promise of an answer elusive, and the disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi remains as mysterious as ever. Perhaps one of the creepiest claims involving Orlandi's disappearance came in 2012 from one of the Catholic Church's top exorcists, Gabrielle Amorth. The exorcist, who claims to have overseen thousands of exorcisms, sensationally said that Emanuela Orlandi was kidnapped in order to be used as a slave in sordid Vatican sex parties, after which she was murdered in cold blood, claims to which the Vatican has been unwilling to answer. The 84-year-old Amorth, who was ordained a priest in 1954, also said that the alleged sex parties also involved members of an unspecified country's foreign embassy to the Holy See. Amorth said this of the incident: "It has already been previously stated by the deceased Simeone Duca, an archivist at the Vatican, who was asked to recruit girls for parties with the help of the Vatican. I believe that Emanuela ended up in this circle. I have never believed in the international theory, overseas kidnappers. I have motives to believe that this was just a case of sexual exploitation." In all fairness, the exorcist's claims should be taken with a grain of salt, as Amorth has made numerous far-out statements over the years. He once stated that the Nazi leader Adolf Hitler and Russian dictator Joseph Stalin were both possessed by the devil, and that Pope Pius XII had attempted a long-distance exorcism of Hitler. He also proclaimed that the popular series of Harry Potter books were the evil work of the devil. Despite all of the theories and false leads, some pieces of alleged solid physical evidence as to the fate of Emanuela Orlandi have surfaced over the years. In particular, on the morning of the 14th of May, 2001, a skull was discovered in the Gregory VII Church near the Vatican. The skull was found in a confessional and was small, lacking a jawbone, and was packed together with an image of Padre Pio. Tests were launched to see if it might be the skull of Orlandi, but these turned out to be negative. Sightings of Emanuela continued to crop up from time to time, in many disparate locations, but these have led to very little conclusive evidence. For all the tantalizing promises of answers and false leads, the answers to what became of Emanuela Orlandi, and indeed the other missing teen, Mirella Grigori, who vanished just 40 days prior, have never been found. Their whereabouts remain as much a mystery today as they have ever been. Throughout all of this, the church has allegedly shown relatively little interest in getting to the bottom of the case, and there are those who think that Vatican officials know more than they are telling. One investigator stated, "There are still people alive and inside the Vatican who know the truth. For over 4 decades, the mystery of the Vatican disappearances has haunted the Orlandi family, and closure has remained elusive. No new evidence, leads, or suspects have been forthcoming, and all we have are speculation, wild claims, and unproven theories. What happened to this young girl all of those years ago? Was it simple terrorism, the case of a confused runaway, or are there darker motives that point to sinister workings and machinations deep within one of the world's most powerful religious institutions? To this day, no one knows for sure, and the mysterious Vatican disappearances remain as murky and unsolved today as they have always been. Okay, here goes my story. This happened to me when I was around 13 years old. I just started being allowed to stay home alone after school instead of being sent to daycare. After a couple of days of being home alone after school, I am just chilling on the rightmost part of the couch, watching SpongeBob or something. Out of the corner of my eyes, I noticed some adult man sitting on the other end of the couch. He had a newspaper that he was reading, and it blocked my view of his face. He was wearing typical farmer and logger garb and brown work boots. Instead of just noping the hell out of there, I just turned and looked at him as casually as I could. No one was there anymore. Okie dokie then. I went upstairs and locked myself in the bedroom. I probably cried. I should probably explain that at this point, I slept in a little offshoot of my dad and stepmom's bedroom because my stepsister took my bedroom when she moved in. My dad was finishing the basement and building another bedroom down there. Where our basement is, there used to be a root cellar or something of the house on the property before us. The house burned down. They were all farmers and loggers because we are in Maine. My dad hangs up the construction project because he is lazy. No more spooks. I tell my sister about the spooky farmer/logger man. She tells me how she's had messed up stuff happen to her too. In this lapse and shitstorm, we learn more about paranormal and the history behind our dad's house. We spend every other week at my mom's house, by the way. At some point, my sister, who is around 4 years older than me by the way, gets a Ouija board. We play it in her bedroom at mom's house. Nothing too spooky happens. We had some spooky spirit say that he was born in the year 666, so we banished the shit out of him. As time goes by, my sister used the board with others a couple of times. She sometimes would regale me with spooky stories. Some bad stuff starts happening to her. She also starts having horrible nightmares in which she kills everyone that she loves. She stops using the Ouija board. She locked it in a box and hid it somewhere in mom's house. We just now found it, years later. She did not even remember where it was. My grandfather had cancer and was sick in the hospital. We all knew that he was not going to live through it this time. My sister, father, and I each have a copy of the same photo of my grandpa in our bedrooms. It's from back when he was in the military, so he is a young man. We wake up in the middle of the night, feeling immense grief. My eyes lock to the picture of my grandpa. I just start crying uncontrollably, but I am making no sound for some reason. I mention it to my sister the next morning. The same thing apparently happened to her at around the same time. I go to school. I come home. I chill out. My dad comes home. He tells me that he needs to talk to me. He says my name and he says, "Papa, and then he chokes up. He's dead, Ethan." My dad bursts into tears and hugs me like he never has before. He says he was driving home from the hospital last night when he got the call. He says that Papa died at around the same time that we both woke up. This next part takes place the better part of a year after the first post. So, background info. We live in Maine. My aunt's house is just down the road. There is only one house between us. I have two cousins who are twins. They are both 3 years younger than me. My sister is 4 years older than me. My parents are divorced. We switch house every Friday afternoon. My mom is remarried. My dad is living with another woman. Her daughter is about 1 year younger than me and took my bedroom when she moved in. My mom believes in spooky stuff. My dad is very skeptical. Much to my happiness, my dad starts building the room in the basement again. My sister starts dating another girl. I guess my sister is bi, who is known to be sensitive to spooky and paranormal stuff. Anyways, one day I'm just chilling out while no one else was home. School is out because school vacation. I wake up. Everyone else is already gone, so I start changing. I feel like someone is watching me from the closet. I cannot shake the feeling. I grab my handy-dandy pocket knife and whip open the closet door. I panic and I stab a sleeping bag. Well, shit. I go downstairs and eat breakfast. I am chilling, watching the TV, and then I hear a sound. Huh? I look in the kitchen, which is where the sound is coming from. I swear that I can see someone trying to open up the basement from the inside. We sometimes lock the basement door, which locks from the outside, because if someone were to break in, it would be through the bulkhead. I assume that my sister, who had just moved into the almost finished room downstairs, giving me her original bedroom, is actually still home and locked downstairs. I figured that my dad just hadn't yet lost the habit of locking the basement door. I was going to open up the door, but something told me not to. Instead, I called my sister, who was like, "Nah, I'm not in the house." I go upstairs and grab the picture of Papa and his old cane. Those are the only things I have left of him. Please save me, Papa. I am going back down the stairs with the intent of leaving this godforsaken house. I'm halfway down the stairs when suddenly I can't move. You know how houses have spots that creak and stuff? Well, everywhere in my house that I have ever heard creak all starts creaking at once. The house actually starts to shake. I lose my vision. I can only see darkness. I can feel a hand on my shoulder. I start running. Apparently, fear just broke my paralysis. I feel for the front door and I get out of the house. My vision comes back as soon as I go over the threshold. I run all the way to my aunt's house. I get to my aunt's house and hang out with her two younger cousins just for a little while. My sister gets dropped off at home. I go see her and she is waiting on the front porch. She tells me to go get cousins. I do, and I see a face looking down from my stepsister's bedroom window while I walk them around to the front of the house. They see it too. No words are shared between any of us, but we all look at the exact same spot. I tell my sister about what I saw. My cousins say that they saw the exact same thing too. I only saw an outline, but they said that they saw a full-on person. They each describe it separately in the exact same way. My sister goes completely pale. She takes out a picture of a friend of hers that had killed himself about 2 weeks ago. My cousins say that's the exact person that they saw. We go inside. At this point, someone is full on ripping on the door to the basement. I get spooked and leave again, only to return home when my dad finally got out of work. Fast forward to a few days later. My sister's girlfriend walks through the house. We have not told her about what's happening, only that it is spooky. This is what she said. There is an extremely dark presence in the basement. Another one that's just as bad is in the closet of my room. My stepsister's room is mostly clean. It actually feels happy and safe apparently. For the most part, she said that the rest of the house feels sort of neutral. A couple weeks ago, I got paired with some guy on a field trip and he started talking about spooky stuff. It turns out that the friend that killed himself before spooking me from my stepsister's window was his brother. His brother is known to float about sometimes and make people feel safe. Fast forward a couple of weeks. Things are quiet now that Dad is done with construction. I go to Papa's funeral. Dad and I drive Papa's car to the funeral with the urn of his ashes. We have the funeral, and then we go to leave for the reception. Dad and I are first to leave the cemetery. Dad revs the engine a bit, because all of Papa's old-timer car nut friends are there, and he wants them to be able to see the car in action one last time. The car stalls. This car never has any problems ever. It's in pristine condition. It's probably more reliable than most new cars. Later on, my dad tells me a few things. The night that my sister and I woke up and started crying, he never actually received a phone call. He was driving past the cemetery, where we eventually buried Papa, and it was a little bit foggy. At the exact same time that we woke up, a man came out of the fog, walking towards his car. The fog man was hit by my dad and instantly disappeared. My dad starts crying and says that he knew right then and there that Papa was gone. Keep in mind, my dad is insanely skeptical of paranormal stuff. He did not get the call until the very next morning. But my dad also says this. At the funeral, when the car stalled, I swear on my life, I heard Papa say, "I told you not to beat on my car. Goodbye, son." And that's all I have. That's all of my stories.